In this video, I want to take a look at the matchup of UCLA versus LSU, as I think it's the best matchup in the Sweet 16, in my opinion. As the stakes and the narrative of the game are unbelievable, but even better, the matchups are just fantastic as well. We're going to go through it all. Before we start, if you enjoy the content and like the video, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. All right, let's get into this. Now, the thing that makes this matchup so intriguing is both these teams look so good on paper. Preseason, there was a lot of hype around both of these teams. Obviously, LSU coming off their national championship, and then they scored through the portal with Haley Van Lith and Anissa Morrow. And then to add on to that, they got the second best recruit in the country, Michaela Williams. Combine that with the two returning players of Angel Reese and Falaje Johnson, who are social media rock stars. You have basically what they would call a super team with big time hype, which they did not shy away from. In one of the preseason interviews, Haley Van Lith was talking about how much talent LSU had and how it would prepare her for the WNBA, as they had WNBA talent at practice every day.
But I also see I see a little bit of a glimpse of a mini pro team. It's kind of like we have so many WNBA prospects. And I really am excited because I think it's going to give me a taste of what the league is like.
But then LSU came out and laid an egg versus Colorado, and I would think it's fair to say they've been up and down most of the season. It seems like they're on the rise right now. Their two most improved players were Samaya Smith and Falaje Johnson. Samaya Smith did her ACL at the Grand Cayman tournament, and that has really devastated them in terms of depth up front. As Del Rosario is coming along, but she is a freshman and just not really ready for big minutes. She is break glass in case of an emergency. And then, as we have documented ad nauseum, the point guard issue has been an issue all season. So Haley Van Lith is now effectively playing off guard most of the time, and they sort of go with a two-man lineup of her and Poa sort of sharing the point guard duties, or Poa running the point. But of their three guards, it's pretty apparent that Haley Van Lith is the weakest in terms of playing defense. Preferred lineup, like if they need a stop against Rice at the end of the game when it got a little bit tight, it was notable in the last few minutes. Haley Van Lith was out, as there's no doubt that Haley Van Lith is a liability on defense. Hence, when LSU was getting lit up by Middle Tennessee's point guard in the second half, Mulkey decided to start Poa because they needed to put the clamps on her. Besides that, they've just had all sorts of drama. So there was the Angel Reese left the team for mental health reasons and then returned. They lost Poole, who's left the team just recently. Kim Mulkey has gone after the Washington Post as a story's about to drop, and she went on the offensive saying it's a scoundrel reporter taking shots at me. And it's just all season, it seems like they have been a circus, and something's always been a bit of a distraction. And the real thing with LSU is you just don't know what team is going to show up. So they can be locked in and look good on defense and just blow teams out. Other times, they look sluggish and slow and take a bad start, just fighting a battle uphill the entire game. Sometimes they're able to get out of it, sometimes they're not. And then there's UCLA. So much like LSU, they look fantastic on paper, 1 through 5. They've got size. Now that they got transfer Lauren Betts from Stanford, that seemed like the missing part that UCLA needed, as when they lost to South Carolina last year in the tournament, Cardoso and Boston just abused them inside. It's like, oh, we've got our magic piece here. We have Lauren Betts, and here we go. As their senior point guard, or fifth-year senior point guard, Charisma Osborne, decided to return. So you have senior leadership at the point guard position. So in truth, it seems like a perfect team, and they started the season out hot, taking out UConn at the Grand Cayman tournament as well. They got Ohio State at Ohio State. They got a nice win over Arkansas, and then they went through the gauntlet of the Big 12. But as the season went along, they started to wear down, and then Lauren Betts had her hiatus, which was very strange. Made stranger by the press conference Corey Close gave after they lost to Washington State, where she was in tears. So they have definitely had their drama as well, but they got all of their players back, like the overseas players returned from their playing commitments. Betts was back, and you're thinking, okay, they're right to go into the Pac 12, and here they go. But then again, they got in a tough game with USC and they could not finish. And during the second round, Creighton gave them a good game, much like how Rice and Middle Tennessee played LSU tough. So here we are. Both teams are up and downs, and they both have seniors that are desperate to win. So Reese obviously wants to get a back to back, and it seems like it's likely this will be her last season, although she hasn't made any announcements. Charisma Osborne is definitely leaving. She returned for her 5th year, and there seems to be a bit of pressure of Charisma's come back. We have to do it. We have to get to the Final Four for Charisma almost. As well, you have to wonder at some point, is pressure going to start to build on Corey Close if she does not get them to the Final Four? This is the team to make the Final Four with. But in her tenure at UCLA, she was hired in 2011-12 season. She has not made a Final Four. The furthest that she has gone is the Elite Eight. But it seems like most of the media loves her because she gives good coach. Like, she's great in the press conferences. She's very friendly to the media, thanks them for being there and promoting the game, positive about players and talking about we've got to build ourselves. But in the crunch, her teams have not gotten it done. And you compare that to Kim Mulkey. So the press, I would think it'd be fair to say, are fairly hostile, especially after she's gone after the Washington Post and she's made controversial remarks over her whole entire career. But I would think Kim Mulkey detractors would say, the lady can coach. I mean, look at her record. She has 4 championships and she always wins. So as I said, the narratives are great on paper, but that's not even the half of it. The matchups are just so good as well because for UCLA, they have the 6'7" Lauren Betts at center to match up against Angel Reese, who's 6'3". At power forward, UCLA has Dugliich, who's 6'4", who will match up against presumably Morrow, 6'1". I believe at small forward, they will either start Gabriel Jaquez or she will come off the bench and get the majority of the minutes. Like versus Creighton, she got 31 minutes. Versus London Jones, who started that game and only got 15 minutes. I think they will need Jaquez's size and hope at 5'11" that she will be able to slow down Michaela Williams or keep her under control, who is 6 foot. Then in the backcourt, it gets interesting as well. Kiki Rice, who's 5'11", will be matching up, I presume, against Flau'jae Johnson, who's 5'10". That will be a fun matchup. Flau'jae Johnson has been LSU's little ace card. She's been getting so much on her pull-up jumpers and has really bailed out LSU out of a lot of messes and tight spaces. They know they can get a bucket when they go to Johnson. And then lastly, there's the point guard, Charisma Osborne for UCLA is 5'9", versus she will presumably be going up against Haley Van Lith, who is 5'7". Obviously, Haley Van Lith's struggles have been well documented, especially by this channel. And so far in the tournament, the first 2 games, she has struggled. She's averaging 5.5 points, shooting 25% from the floor. She's averaging 3 turnovers a game. Now, I know it's only 2 games, but more importantly, like, they pulled her in the Middle Tennessee game at the start of the second half, which was very telling. Their season was on the line, and they thought, we need to have Poa in there to slow down the point guard for Middle Tennessee. Osborne did not play great against Creighton either, but she is a dog on defense. Like, she can really bird dog the opposition point guard. And that will be the question. How will Haley Van Lith hold up against Charisma Osborne, and will Poa get the majority of the minutes, or how do they work their sort of trifecta of Williams, Flau'jae Johnson, and Haley Van Lith and Poa? So it's really those 3 need playing time, and mix in getting Poa in there. Who's going to be the odd player out? Will it be Haley Van Lith? I suspect it would, but it depends. If she comes in there and starts hitting 3-pointers and playing the off guard and goes off, she's just as capable of doing that. You just don't know what you're going to get from her. So all of those matchups look really intriguing to me. One thing that's very clear is the bench is advantage of UCLA. They have dependable size that can come off the bench. So Sontak is 6'3", and can throw her weight around. Like she'll get some minutes. She usually averages 14 minutes a game. The other one is Iwala, who averages slightly. She gets lower minutes at 11 minutes per game, and she didn't get many minutes versus Creighton. So I imagine if they're trying to just throw big bodies around and get Reese into foul trouble, you might see a little bit more of Iwala. The other one is London Jones. Like she can have a big impact. She can shoot the 3-pointer. So her 3-point percentage is like 371. And if they're swarming bets, then they sort of depend on her to make the opposition pay for it. And it'll be interesting. I wonder if it'll be the UCLA will try to throw it into bets, and I wonder if they're going to try to play her straight up with Angel Reese, or if I think they'll probably do a combination of things, but at times I think they'll swarm her, as at times Betts can be a bit slow with the ball, and she'll turn to the right and you can double team her. Other times she'll read it and throw a nice little pass, but she's a little bit mechanical at times. Where she does her damage is in transition. If she's running the floor, a lot of times she'll get down the court quick and they'll throw it to her and she'll get a quick little layup, much like how South Carolina gets easy baskets with Cardoso. The other issue is they cannot let their guards like Osborne and Kiki Rice get penetration, because then that sets up easy dishes for Lauren Betts as well. So who wins the game? I really think this is a line ball. I don't know. Like if LSU comes out and is sharp, I could see them being sharp and having their best game of the year, just being focused because they know what a threat UCLA is. On the other hand, if Angel Reese gets in foul trouble, it is going to be a real struggle for LSU because they just do not have the depth up front in comparison to the number of bigs that UCLA can bring at them. One thing I do know is that the coach that loses is going to take a lot of heat on the loss. If it's Corey Close, then she can't win the big game and get her team to the Elite Eight and Final Four. If it's Mulkey, then it'll be the criticism that she made it all about her. Why did she go to the press complaining about this story, distracted the team, and it'll go down that sort of line. The other unknown as well, will the Washington Post release the story on the weekend to do LSU would say maximal damage to them, but the Washington Post would say to get max publicity or eyes on them, or are they going to wait and hope that LSU makes it to the Final Four and then they're looking to release their story then? All interesting questions. I can't wait to watch the matchups and the game play out. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.